Ethan Carter had always been good at quitting. At 34, he'd walked away from more things than he cared to remember. College when the coursework got tough, guitar lessons after 2 weeks, even a half marathon he'd trained months for, dropping out at mile 6 because his lungs burned and his legs felt like lead. His ex-wife had called it commitment issues. His boss called it a lack of follow-through. Ethan just called it reality. Some people were built for greatness. Others, like him, were built to fold under pressure. Then came the diagnosis: type 2 diabetes. Not a death sentence, but a wake-up call. His doctor's words, lifestyle change or medication for life, echoed in his head as he stared at the gym membership pamphlet in his hand. He'd signed up in a haze of desperation, but by the 3rd session he was already bargaining with himself. Maybe walking is enough. Maybe I don't need to push. That's when he met Rosa. A retired Marine and running coach, Rosa was all sharp edges and no patience. She'd seen 1,000 Ethans, people who thought willpower was something you either had or didn't. "You think quitting is a decision?" she'd scoffed when he tried to explain why he was done after a single mile on the treadmill. "Quitting is a habit. And habits can be broken." Something in her tone, not pity but challenge, made him pause. The first month was agony. His shins splinted. His lungs rebelled. He finished every session red-faced and humiliated, certain Rosa was regretting her offer to train him. But she never let him off easy. "Small steps," she'd say. 1 mile. Then 2. Then 3. Progress wasn't linear. There were days he skipped. Days he showed up but barely tried. Days he wanted to scream at Rosa for believing in him when he didn't believe in himself. But then, slowly, something shifted. The first time he ran 5 miles without stopping, he cried in his car afterward, not from joy but from the sheer disbelief that he'd done it. Rosa signed him up for a local 10K. "Just to see," she said. He came in dead last but he finished. Then she said the words that made his stomach drop. "You could run a marathon." The idea was laughable. Impossible. But the seed was planted. Training was brutal. Early mornings, blistered feet, the constant ache of muscles pushed beyond their limits. There were setbacks, a sprained ankle, a bout of flu that stole 2 weeks of progress. Doubt crept in. Who was he kidding? He wasn't a runner. He was a quitter. The night before the race he almost didn't show. But Rosa was there at the starting line, arms crossed as if she'd known he'd try to bail. "You don't have to win," she said. "You just have to finish." The marathon was worse than he imagined. By mile 18 every step was pain. By mile 22 his vision blurred. The crowd's cheers faded into a dull roar, and the only voice left was his own, whispering, "You can't." But then he remembered the doctor's warning. The way his daughter had hugged him when he'd lost his first 20 pounds. The pride in Rosa's eyes when he'd run his first uninterrupted mile. He wasn't running for a medal. He was running to prove just once that he wouldn't quit. When he crossed the finish line he didn't collapse in triumph. He limped. He sobbed. He finished second to last. But he finished. Later his daughter would ask if he'd won. He'd smile and say, "Yeah, kid. I did." Because the race wasn't the victory. The victory was every step he took when he wanted to stop. The victory was looking in the mirror and finally seeing someone who didn't walk away. The victory was realizing he'd never really been a quitter at all, just a man who hadn't learned yet how to keep going.